Hollywood's obsession with remakes and retellings has a long history, but now with less and less time between each one is getting a little bit much. And we can see this a lot with Cinderella movies. And as you can tell from my intro, I adore Cinderella. Like, I would defend her with my life, but we get it. We get it. Stepmother, glass slipper, ball, happily ever after. Like, it's been done to death. So why are there still so many Cinderella movies? Cinderella really is the new definition of the underdog. Whenever we think about a situation where a team or a person has to defeat someone who's more experienced, it's usually called a Cinderella story. This makes sense considering Cinderella is kind of an underdog. She's someone who's expected to lose, but we can't help but want her to win. Like, throughout the story, we want Cinderella to be treated better, and ultimately we want her to live happily ever after. I think the Cinderella story is so important because there's been a really big emphasis on the underdog throughout history. Just like David and Goliath or even Robin Hood, stories about the underdog have been around forever. And it's so heavily entwined in Western culture if you really think about it. Events like the American Revolution are usually shown as a group of underdogs that rise up against improbable circumstances, and they actually win. Even the American dream is based on the underdog, and we can see its effect in society and media. Movies like Rocky and The Karate Kid come to mind when thinking about a Cinderella story, and there's honestly a lot more where that came from. And for some reason, people never get tired of them. And honestly, I get it because I'm a sucker for these. Like, there's a sense of joy you get when the underdog wins, even when we can see it happening from a mile away. And Cinderella really is someone we want to see win, especially since she's been portrayed as a kind, warm-hearted, and hardworking person. Cinderella just wants to go to the ball after busting her butt off for who knows how long. Like, who couldn't relate to that? Cinderella's dress and glass slipper are some of the most iconic pieces of clothing ever. They're pretty integral to the story, and very rarely will you see a Cinderella remake or retelling without one or the other in some shape or form. Cinderella's ball gown is, first of all, pretty. Like, it's just so beautiful. And Cinderella's dress is supposed to be a wonderful and magical piece of clothing that just kind of sucks you into the fairy tale. And the slippers are one of a kind. Like, thinking of iconic movie shoes, I would say it's really high up there. And for just this one night, like, she's the center of attention and all eyes on her. And considering we use clothes to express ourselves and differentiate ourselves with one another, having the biggest and the best is a very human ideal that we can all relate to. It also creates this huge wow factor that the character is known for and people look forward to when watching a Cinderella movie, and it's difficult for other Disney princesses to replicate it. And second of all, the gown and the slippers are transformative and reflective. The beautiful ball gown transforms plain old Cinderella into this other version of herself where her outer beauty reflects her inner beauty. The glass slipper also reflects this. Because it's made out of glass specifically, it usually represents Cinderella in the sense that she's pretty dainty and gentle. Like, who else do you know actually wear a glass slipper and not break it? It's also not like other shoes. You know, one shoe doesn't fit all. I think making it glass is important in the fact that it's custom and not elastic. Like, she's the only one who can fit into that slipper. And in it being transparent, it represents Cinderella's true identity, while also being the vehicle of which she gets discovered by the prince. Cinderella's dress and glass slipper are so iconic because they show us the effect of making your dreams and ideas come to life, but in this tangible form that we can actually see. It's basically reinforcing the idea that you get what you reflect, but showing it through clothes. Take Cinderella's stepsisters, for example. While they're supposed to be ugly in some way, most of the time this ugliness is shown through the costume design of the movie rather than having the characters themselves be ugly. They're usually dressed in tacky or garish clothing that we identify as out of place or over the top in a bad way. They're wearing things that nobody in their right mind would be caught dead in, like just plain ugly clothes. And this ties in full circle with what's on the inside reflecting on the outside. The lessons that Cinderella teaches resonate with a lot of people. And honestly, people really like a happy ending. I mean, it's a fairy tale. I'm gonna be happy. That's half the reason why people watch them in the first place. Girl leaves terrible family, she gets the guy, and lives happily ever after. The end. If you think about it, Cinderella really is a simple story. And because of that, it can be retold in so many different ways. It's easy enough for most people to grasp, and because it's not so complicated or long, it can be rewatched a lot. And I think Cinderella movies are so popular because we get to see someone that is a good person get a happy and satisfying ending, which isn't always the case in real life. The good person has something great happen, and the bad people get punished. Let's be honest here. Cinderella is a widely recognizable story with a sizable fan base. That's where Disney comes in. There's probably so many remakes and retellings of this story because it's profitable. And with every generation that passes, the company has to figure out a way to reintroduce the story to its younger clientele that's different from the way they did it last time. How else will they be able to sell merchandise and tickets to Disneyland? I think we can all agree that maybe the reason why there are so many Cinderella movies in the first place is because it's easy and because they know people will watch. There's a reason why other Disney princesses don't experience near the amount of remakes. The story of Cinderella is easily adaptable and can fit into a number of different time periods. Compared to other Disney princesses, her story is pretty rooted in reality, and everything that's not is easily replaceable. Honestly, it probably makes a lot of sense for them to keep making remakes because why fix what ain't broke? Will there ever come a time where they'll stop making Cinderella movies? I kind of hope so, because as much as I love Cinderella, we need to give that girl a break.